everyone. Welcome, welcome. My name is Olivia Owens, and I am the Creator Partnerships Manager at Teachable. For those of you who are new to the Teachable community, Teachable is a no-code platform for creators who want to build a more impactful business through courses, coaching, downloadable content, and community. And I am very excited to be back with our series, Powering Your Business with Teachable. Through the series, you'll learn directly from Teachable creators who are using the platform to grow and scale their businesses. And we are joined by two amazing creators here today. I'm really excited for this conversation. We have Ash and Matthew here with us. Hello, hello. Welcome,
Hey
welcome.
everyone.
What's up?
Beautiful. And I do not like reading people's bios. You know your story the best. So I'm going to give you both the opportunity to introduce yourselves, just to give the audience an understanding of who you are, how you work with Teachable, and we'll move from there. Ash, I'll start with you first.
Right on, Olivia. Thank you. I'm Ash. I am the founder of something called Selfish School, where I actually help people create online courses using minimal social media. And also the founder of something called Meat and Hair Creative Writing School, because that's my professional background is in creative writing. I recently switched to Teachable probably within the last 3 months for a number of reasons. I'm loving the platform and I'm super pumped to be here today.
We are happy to have you. I stumbled across Ash's school and I was like, I must meet this woman. And the chat is echoing exactly kind of what I saw when I checked you out. So very happy to have you here. And Matthew,
Thanks.
I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone. My name is Matt Duffy. I'm just outside Toronto, Ontario. What do I even say? I'm a full-time professor, so I teach baking for a living. I run a micro bakery, which is a small cottage-style bakery with my wife. And then I do digital content creation across multiple platforms. And I started with Teachable, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think, 2 years ago maybe. And we've got 3 courses. And just this morning, I started to develop what will be the next 2 leading into 3 courses. And the next thing I'm going to launch is called Sourdough Side Hustle, which teaches people who have been baking at home how to actually monetize their knowledge. I teach full-time for a living. I have online sourdough courses, and I thought it would be a great way for other people to learn how they can share their knowledge and build some passive income and some sales income through selling bread and selling their knowledge of bread.
I absolutely love it. I love that you both are kind of taking the expertise that you've built from sharing your knowledge and paying it forward. I also think that, like, from a little bit of what I've taken from Ash's content, you are doing exactly kind of what she suggests people to do. So we're going to have a really, really great conversation
Good.
here today. So I would love to just start by I think in the creator economy today, there's a lot of conversations about how creators should be monetizing, and you are constantly inundated with 500 different ways to do that. And it's really hard to get your arms around, like, okay, what makes sense for me? How am I going to monetize in a way that aligns with what I want to put out into the world, and aligns with the lifestyle that I want to have? And so you both have chosen knowledge products as your way to do that. So I'd love to hear from each of you kind of what monetizing through knowledge products has done for you and how you've been able to benefit from this both personally and professionally. And Matt, I'll start with you on that one.
Sure. So that is a great question, first of all. Just to recap, you're sort of looking at how I develop a knowledge-based product and what how that's helped me in my life and career, I guess.
Yeah, and kind of why knowledge products to start.
You know what? My why is kind of not the best reason, but I'll tell it. So in 2020, I was like everyone, and I used to teach in-person classes, and it was kind of my side hustle. I would teach these classes on the weekend, once a month, a couple times a month, because I teach full time and run a bread baking program, and the demand was there, and everyone was asking. And then I was at home and I was kind of creating videos and doing knowledge-based videos, and people kept asking the why. Why do you do this? How do you do this? How do I bake bread like yours? Why doesn't my bread look like yours? And then this is where the crappy part of this story is one day I saw someone else with a course and they were like introducing my sourdough bread course. And they were extremely amateur beginner level baker. And my first initial reaction was like, whoa, how does this person sell knowledge? And they should. And then, you know what? I can't waste my time on negativity and I don't want to be negative towards other people. And I was like, you know what? Good for her. I hope she crushes it. I'm just going to make my own course and I'm going to make it better. And that kind of, I think it fueled me to do it. Just seeing someone else do it and knowing, hey, I have more experience, more knowledge. I build courses for a living, so the process should be straightforward. And I think it was just sort of that. And that's really what got me started on it. As far as how it's changed things for me, I mean, I've just finished writing my first book. And so I took about a year off of sort of developing my school and promoting, even, as far as promoting the school and running new courses and updating what's there. But through that year off, I was still earning passive income from the courses. And I was still able to sort of like maintain the following I had and build that and continue on. And that's a powerful thing. I mean, I've got 2 little kids. Sunday morning, I'm making breakfast for my kids. Maybe they go in the backyard and I check my email, and even just one course sale, that's enough to be like, wow. It's not about making thousands and thousands for me anyways. Of course, that's obviously great for everyone, but it's every sale for me. It's every single piece of it. One course sold. Hey, I'm off today. It's the weekend. I'm going to spend the day with my family and I don't have to do anything. The other side of that is someone's going to gain knowledge to get them ahead and get them started on a journey and give them the right information so that they can grow their own knowledge and develop their own self.
I love it. And although you're kind of putting a negative on your why, I think your why is really important, because a lot of times when people come to something like online courses, they come with a level of doubt of like, do I know enough to
Sure.
teach? Like, am I actually qualified for this? So from your story, you saw somebody else do it and it was kind of validation for you of like, yeah, if she
100%.
can do it, so can I. And I think there's definitely something valuable in that.
Even after that point, I still had that question when I was writing. I was, should I be doing this? Who am I to teach this? And I've been baking sourdough bread for almost 20 years. I have at the time, a decent following. I had already started the process of putting together recipes for the first book, and I still had those questions. I still was doubting myself on it.
And that's validating in itself. Ash, same question to you.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different journey. I started making courses in 2009, like OG blogger style. Again, professionally as a writer, that was always my thing. And I would get people reading my blog and being like, hey, could you teach me how to write like you? Or can you write for me? So first I started developing a writing company where I did creative copywriting for other companies. It was awesome. And then one day out of the blue, I was like, you know what, just for fun, let's do a little online workshop. It was like back when GoToTraining was like the platform for live webinars. And I think I got maybe 100 people in the door, and it resulted in something like $30,000 in revenue. And all of a sudden it just clicked. It was like, oh my God, this is scale. This is power. This is kind of a win-win for everybody, because obviously I'm able to share what I know. People are able to access that information, but you don't actually have to pay me directly to like coach you through it. This is a cool, happy medium. So I started creating courses back then, and it's been this journey the entire time. I think to date, I've probably done somewhere in like the 8 million mark of online courses, and over a number of different topics, different things. It's changed my life profoundly in a number of ways. But the biggest reason that I teach now is to avoid burnout. This mental health piece has become so important for me. I know what it's like to run yourself ragged when you're running a business, especially a service-based business. I know what it's like when you have no time to shower. You're really cooking yourself eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because you're too busy. And I think a lot of us, especially in the audience here, if you're here, you probably have been in some kind of online business situation. And I think it's really common that this burnout is it's becoming a thing worse and worse. So for me, online courses is the way that you can take what you know and create not just a course, but a piece of intellectual property. It's a business asset that you own. You can copyright, you can license, you can do stuff with this. It's very, very powerful. And then that's a real thing. And it gives you your life back. It gives you your time back. You're able to actually have a product out of your brain that you've now packaged and offered up for sale. And it is so incredible. Not enough people are taking advantage of it, but I think we're going to start to see that shift as more and more people start to feel that burnout. And just like that, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Absolutely. And something that I heard from both of you in terms of your journey is you were doing this thing and then people started asking you questions about the thing that you're doing, right? At that point, you had cultivated some type of engaged audience that wanted to learn from you, whether that was intentional or unintentional. Looking back on yourself in that stage, kind of what did building an engaged audience that wanted to learn from you look like from the beginning for those who haven't kind of like struck that piece of gold yet?
Me?
One of either one.
Matthew, you want to go?
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess I never really started to build the audience with the intention of monetization or selling a product, to be honest. It was more about just there was a lot of misinformation, a lot of bad information, a lot of people providing shortcut information. And I just wanted to share what I was learning actually and the stages that I was at and what I was developing. And then I was kind of giving tips and tricks as to how you could do it. And I think that's ultimately what leads people to to that network and grows it, is because I'm putting information out there that's helpful for free. And it was never now I see that side of it, but I also at the time had no idea anything about online business. I had no idea anything about newsletters, online courses, nothing. It was more just about sharing some knowledge and sharing what I was learning, and importantly what I was passionate about. And I love that I can look back on what I've done, how I've developed, what's happening, and provide that information for people, because they can also go through and see like, hey, this person started out here and this is where they're at in their journey. And I think that's cool for people to see. I think sometimes you see someone who's maybe got a book or they're, this whatever industry you're in, oh, this person's at the top, but you never understand the path to get there. And you never understand that everyone starts at the same point, right? And everyone's struggles no matter what level they're at. And I think that's what really started me to build an engaged audience. To be fair, was just to help people, I guess.
Yeah. How about you, Ash?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because I do have a book. It's called The Middle Finger Project. And it's called The Middle Finger Project, everyone. And that's a book about what to do when you are just miserable with your 9 to 5 and you're looking for a new, interesting, creative outlet, maybe a business, maybe an online course. And it's fascinating because everyone is under the impression that you do something like a book, you do something big, and it's going to bring all this traffic. You know what? No, I have some strong opinions about not only books, but also, social media. For example, I think everyone has a lot of pressure to get on and start finding an audience via social media. And I think a lot of us are driving ourselves crazy trying to produce all of this content because that's what we think we're supposed to be doing. The best way for me that I was able to build an audience was by writing something consistently every single week to an email list with a very strong point of view. I think as people, we're all craving leadership. We're all craving interesting ideas. And I think whatever you're passionate about, whether it's baking or whether it's creative writing, if you actually sit down and think about, well, what do I think about this? What really pisses me off? what things are fascinating to me, and you learn how to express those ideas. That for me has been hands down the best way to build an audience, because people really get excited when they hear an idea that clicks with them, and it maybe like shifts something in their brain for them, and all of a sudden they can see things a little bit differently. Best way I've ever done it. Just really having the courage to come up with ideas and write them down. And on that note, I will end with, when I was publishing the Middle Finger Project, my editor at Portfolio Penguin, her name's Nikki, she's fantastic. She said to me once, she goes, Ash, the goal with this book is to make 50% of the people hate you for it. And I was like, ooh, now that's like a juicy tidbit. Tell me more. We had this great conversation around the idea that, if 50% of the people don't like the work that you're creating, then it's not a strong enough opinion. It's not a strong enough perspective. And sometimes that can be really helpful to think about, whatever you're doing in terms of, 50% of the people that see this need to hate it. And as a result, the other 50% really, really love it.
I love that. Draw up some controversy, but also I think strike a chord. And I think part of striking a chord for both of you was just a true passion for whatever it was that you were sharing. For Matt, it was baking. For Ash, it was writing. And so for the people who are wondering, how do I build an audience? It sounds, what I'm hearing is questioning for yourself, do you have like a natural inclination to share what you know? Like, is that something that you're interested in doing? And if so, just do that, and then people are going to start to engage. And I heard the most frequent word I hear when talking to creators when it comes to building an audience is consistency. It's being willing to do it over and over and over again, even when at the beginning it may just be crickets. It may just be you and your 4 close friends, but it'll grow from there, from consistency. So I appreciate you both kind of sharing your journeys on that road, because that seems to be one of the biggest hiccup points. My next question is when it comes to actually building the curriculum. I think sharing your knowledge on social media is one thing. I think teaching a course is another thing. And so, Matt, I know you're getting ready to launch a new course. Ash, you just released a new course. For somebody who they're building their first course, what advice do you have in terms of building something that will create a great experience for your students? And Ash, I'll start with you on that.
Something that students seem to respond really well to are an absolute abundance of very tangible, specific examples. As many examples as you can fit in, at least in my world, that makes sense. I don't know about in Matthew's world for baking, but for my world, if we're doing creative writing, for example, I try to use as many different examples as I can, and people really can start to see it coming together. For Selfish School, where I'm talking about building online courses and online businesses, I try to get a wide variety of different kinds of industries and whoever might be doing that, so you could see it. And even if it's not exactly applicable to what you do, you could maybe tweak it a little bit and apply to yourself. Students really love examples. And I think there in general is exhaustion from so much of fluff, theory. I think theory courses are doing very poorly. I think the more specific and the more hyper useful a course is, if you can show me exactly how to do something step by step, A to Z, that becomes almost like a system. And those tend to sell better than just like, hey, let me tell you philosophy, if that makes sense.
It does. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, that's a great answer. It's hard to follow that. Well, I guess if you're like, I mean, we're kind of talking about validating your beginner idea. My thought was from a hands-on point of view, so teaching a skill. I was trying to take the user, the student, I guess, on a journey from point A to Z. So what are the steps that they need to be successful to make this product? And I works backwards. So I thought, here's the end product, here's where I want to be. Well, what are all the steps I need to get to do that? And I think that I probably spent at least as much time, if not more, planning the layout than I did actually recording the lessons. And some of the lessons are
Oh, yeah.
lengthy in my first course because we're talking about a bread that if you've never made it before, it takes you a week to get to that point. But just that A to Z or A to B or whatever you want to call it, just like how does one take that journey? And then I looked at myself and how did I do it? I think sometimes as the teacher or as I wouldn't call myself an expert, but for this example, I'm going to use the word expert. I think when you're an expert at something, you have a learning blind spot. So you potentially forget something. A basic example is when I make a pie crust, I put a pinch of salt in it. I don't write it in my recipes. I just always do it. It's a habit. I know it's better. It tastes better. The dough's better. The gluten forms better with salt. But that's a learning blind spot because if I'm teaching you that, I might not write that in the recipe. And so I try to like really break down step by step what is the user going through and how are they getting from A to Z? Because even if I provide you the steps, there's still going to be some struggle and some challenges. It's a little different with cooking and baking. And it's really hard because of social media and everyone just wants perfect results right away. Well, I made your recipe, but it doesn't look like yours. Well, you know what? I've also baked tens of thousands of loaves of bread and I do it regularly. So the fact that you've baked two, you got to work on that a little bit, but people want instant results. And so I tried to break it down in digestible bits of information, working backwards from the end journey and kind of making a work back schedule and just creating that journey for that beginner to go on. And I also wanted it to be tangible, or I also wanted it to be they could guide their own journey. And if they got stuck here, they could repeat this part and whatever. And I think that was kind of how I looked at it, I guess. I don't know if I answered the question or if I just kind of danced around it, but that's kind of what
Can
I.
I jump in to
Please.
follow that? I
Yeah.
think that was a really good point. The blind spot that we have from the curse of knowledge, and you completely forget, and it's sometimes really difficult. Something that's been really helpful for me for seeing those blind spots is usually I'll do a beta version of a course first, and I'll let people know, hey, jump in at this preferred price point. Here's the deal, though. I need you to go through it. I
Yeah.
need you to give me feedback. Like, let's talk about it. And they will point out, they'll be like, you know what? I didn't really follow you here. Or can I get more examples? Or something's not clicking for me. And then it really highlights it. It's a great way
You know,
to kind of get it together.
so it's been a while since I launched the first course, but I actually did that. I just kind of had forgot, but that is the what I did as well was had I don't even remember, maybe 10 users go through and make notes and add pictures. And then I was able to do the same as you said and just make those adjustments on the fly
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And I think it's great, especially if you're creating a course for the very first time and you're maybe a little bit intimidated. It's kind of a nice way to ease into it because the expectation is not that it's going to be perfect. Your
Right.
video, quality might suck a little bit your first couple rounds, and that's okay. And maybe it'll help you get that momentum. I find that students really like that a lot. Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people also like to watch your journey, right? Like they like
Definitely.
to see the iteration. They like to say that I was there for V1, right? And so I think giving them the opportunity to do that. I think the other piece for the person who's like, okay, I know I have an expertise in public speaking, but it's something that I've kind of like mastered through doing. How do I break that down into something I can teach? I think that could apply similarly to the writing side of things for the people who are trying to teach like an expertise that they've honed. I think it can be difficult to look back at your A to Z on like I started here were the different like
Yeah.
roadblocks that I hit along the way, and here's how I overcame those things. And for me, it really helps to go to the people who have been along that journey with me, so that they can be like, "Well, remember when you felt this way about this thing, and you had this unlock moment?" I think there's a lot of sourcing that you can do from your network and your community as well when it comes to like teaching yourself your own methodology of your expertise in some way as well.
You
Yeah.
know
And
what? Sorry, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say just that I think too, sometimes it's really hard when you sit down to make a course and you have the temptation to put as many things as you've ever learned in your life into it because you're nervous. Is it going to be valuable enough? I'm charging money for this thing and that really freaks me out. So you have this tendency to want to really just overstuff it. And that's not good for anyone because obviously you're never going to get done with that. And also it's going to be really overwhelming for anybody trying to learn. So I think it's helpful to think about, okay, what's the end goal? What do I need someone to come away with? What is the skill? What is the idea? What do they need to be able to do? And work backwards from there instead of being like, well, on the subject of creative writing, let's put an entire university 4-year degree into this one online course.
That's the same with baking. It's kind of like, do I just teach people how to make one loaf of sourdough bread, their first loaf? Because my original draft for the course was like sourdough baguettes, focaccia, how to make your starter, sweet sourdough, brioche sourdough. And it would have been this big thing. And I thought, you know what? That might be valuable later on, a more encompassing course that really levels you up. But exact same thought as yours there. I just needed the beginner to be able to start their journey. They need to be able to start the journey and start at zero and get to their first bread. With baking, that's where a common mistake happens is people, you get excited by new recipes. You make it once, and then next week you make brownies, then you make baguettes, and you never truly master the one recipe. So then I did the same, and I scaled back. I was like, well, wait a minute. Maybe I don't want to throw 20 years of baking knowledge into this, and I want to simplify it for that beginner baker. And that simplification can be challenging as well. On your point, Olivia, right now I'm going through edits, my third round of edits with my editor for my cookbook. And she had asked, well, maybe we can go through the recipes and we can list specialty equipment. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, if you're using specialty equipment, maybe we should list that. And I said, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's about 15 different sizes of pan behind me. And on the bottom, there's pans. And up top, there's baskets. None of this is specialty equipment for me. It's all just equipment. So then I had to tell her, like, maybe you tell me what you think specialty equipment is, because I forget the beginner journey. I forget where I started. I forget that I originally had I didn't even have a basket. I had a bowl with a towel in it where you put your bread in to ferment overnight. That's how I started. And you forget those things on that journey. And it's kind of like, whoa, I really need to back up and give the beginner what they need, right?
I didn't even know you could use a basket. I need to take your courses, Matthew. Somebody needs to help me out in that department.
I'm a terrible writer, so I was thinking I need to take yours. So like you have a basket, you put your dough in it, and then that rises in the basket. But when
we need to know, why is it better? Why is it superior than the bowl?
So the bowl is not breathable. So the bowl tends to get humidity in the bottom, and the dough sticks in the towel or in the bowl. You'd also need to oil or whatever the bowl, whereas the basket's kind of breathable. It's lighter, and it allows the surface to dry out slightly. So when you flip that bread out and you cut it, you have this skin. You get maximum expansion, better crust, better crumb, and
see,
better. I have a YouTube video. I have a YouTube video. What is a banetone? And it explains, because I get asked this question all the time. Well, why would I use that? Why did I? So now I just refer them to the YouTube here. And then in the YouTube, in the description, the first thing is link to my online courses. So you watch that video. Hey, this has some knowledge. This is helpful. If you want, level up, go to the online course.
This is great. This is such a great example of being able to take something that you love and turn it into an income stream. And most people wouldn't think that. They'd be like, shit. And sorry. They'd be like, I know how to make pies. But they would never think that that could be an actual legitimate.
Just to echo that, the thing is, most people are probably in the same as I was. I was already doing it. I was already giving the information for free. I was already providing it. I was already answering those questions. It allowed me a lot more freedom. And it sounds kind of weird, but it also leveled up my authority. The moment you stop giving away information for free and you're charging for it, you attract better customers, and you also get better quality of customer. And then you're also like, oh, that guy has a course and he's got a book and she's got a book and she's got a, and that also levels up your authority. And I mean, Teachable is quite a well-known platform at this time. So when you say you're on Teachable, I've got a course, it's not like some weird online thing and people have to look for it. It's out there. They can find it. I think it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's so good too. I mean, there's just the idea that like authority building. I used to say that to people. I would be like, you don't have to actually publish a book to get that cachet, because if you did something like a course, it does have the same effect. People see that and they're like, oh wow, they must be an expert at what they do, otherwise they wouldn't have a course. That kind of goes the logic, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, to your point too about getting better clients, it's a wonderful way to sell. If you do bigger client work, service work, things that have higher price tags on them, the course is doing the work for you of selling your actual consulting expertise, because
Yeah.
the person is going through it going, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. This person knows their stuff. And then the sales job is over because now they're just signing up.
In addition to that, it can be a very good upsell. So if I gave a webinar yesterday for the Bread Bakers Guild of America where I did a demonstration of, I don't know, like around 10 different products. And it was a bake along. So they bake with me. But at the very end of it, I sent an email. Thanks everyone for taking this bake along. If you're interested, I've got this online course. Here's a promo for just you. And it's an upsell. So now I'm charging a set rate for my time, but then in addition to that, you can earn a little bit extra. And it's kind of like that bonus. Or anytime I do in person, hey, by the way, I also have this online course and you could take it, and people will, it helps you a lot. It's like it adds up over time. And when you look at the breakdown of Teachable, it's kind of like, wow, like that's life changing. You know what I mean? Hey, $100, $100,000, depending on who it is, like that $100 could be life changing for the right person. And even when it's just that first sale, like, I think you said this in the beginning, Ash, that first sale is like, whoa, you can make money online. And it kind of changes the way you look at things and the way you perceive the world online. It also helps me save money because I'm a little bit more cautious as to where I throw it around online, because it's very easy to just buy anything these days in seconds. It's at your door.
Legit. I'm in this small little cottage in the woods in my hometown in rural Pennsylvania. I'm doing like a little just like summer soul searching, doing a lot of journaling stuff. And I have some friends from high school who are like woodworkers and stonemasons. And I've got my best friend from high school just opened a dog kennel. And I've been telling her this entire time, the last month, I'm like, okay, start documenting what you're doing now with this dog kennel, everything that you're learning, everything that you're figuring out about email marketing, all the stuff we're talking about. Start documenting it now. So that way, in a couple of years, if you wanted to turn around and make a course on how you actually built the successful business, it's done. There it is. And I think the same thing for the stonemasons and for, the other guy with the woodworker. I went the other day to pour concrete because I just wanted to learn how to pour concrete. And I really legitimately think that there's a market for any craft.
Totally agree. And that's what we see on our platform. I joined the team a year ago, and just to see the diversity of types of courses that are being taught and consumed, it blows my mind on a daily basis. And another kind of piece that I'm hearing from this is like, so often we see the new users on our platform start as students. They've taken a course from somebody else and they're like, oh, I want to take a course. They're natural learners themselves, and then they get inspired to teach themselves, which I think is
Totally.
yeah.
I've got a course open on my computer right now that I'm taking, actually how to use my camera better.
Yep.
Because it's the same, and through taking it, I learned how to use my camera better, but I also learned how to deliver the information. Oh, I like the way they structured that module. I like how they get this PDF. And you learn how to deliver your own course, even though it's totally different information.
Completely.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm talking to somebody who's just getting started, I'm like, take some courses, get familiar with what that experience is like, especially if you're trying to figure out what platform you want to host your courses on. I'm like, definitely take a course on Teachable to get a sense of the feel of it, to check it out. I saw a question in the chat about YouTube, and something that I often hear when I'm talking to creators who have maybe considered online courses, but they're like, why wouldn't I just post the content on YouTube? Like, why would I build a course out of it? And Matt, I'm curious your perspective on that, considering you're also a YouTube user.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm planning 2 YouTube videos right now, and hopefully after, with the help of Ash and her course. One thing that I found that I lack in my YouTube videos that I think would draw more people is the art of storytelling. And I'm providing a recipe. Hey, here's how you make tart flambe. But wait a second, I learned how to make tart flambe with Chef Daniel Boulud, who has multiple Michelin stars, who I worked for 5 years. I also worked in Germany with a master baker, visited Alsace, ate the product. So there is that whole journey story. And I think that on YouTube, you can break down a skill. So I did struggle with that a little bit. What do I put on YouTube? What don't I put? Now, if you think about so my personal, the way I would approach like someone else's course is, let's say I want to learn how to change my light bulb. I will go on YouTube and watch a video for how to change a light bulb. But if I want to rewire the lights in my room, I need a course for that, because I probably don't trust the average YouTube video. And so what I'll do is I'll find the first video and find a creator that I like. I like their teaching style, their delivery method, and then I'll go to their courses. So I think, for one, it's a great way to get organic exposure. YouTube is, I believe, the second, maybe third largest search engine in the world. So people are searching. So if you're having a YouTube strategy from a bread point of view, people probably search, you can look it up on Uber Suggest, or on, there's a few websites, how to shape a batard, how to shape a boule, probably 10,000 times a month, if not at least more. So for one, you can validate the idea. If you're not sure, do I put a course? Do I do YouTube? Put a little video on YouTube and see if you get views. Do you get any comments? Do you get any engagement? How does it go? Search for other people's videos. Are other people making that video? And then what I've tried to do is try to separate and complement. So I have a sourdough pizza course. It shows you from start to finish how to make the starter, and we make, I think, 8 different pizzas. And I just posted a video for a pan pizza, and there's also a pan pizza in the course, but it's a little different. And I do provide all the information in the YouTube video of how to be successful and how to make this product. But in the course, it just goes into more detail, more depth of information, and it's more of a teaching delivery, whereas YouTube's kind of the entertaining and teaching delivery. And I guess, I mean, it's a tough answer to decide, but I do truly believe there's a way to do both. And the other side of it is, I know this kind of goes against, Ash, what your premise is, but let's say I find 2 people and they both have a sourdough pizza course, and one has no YouTube channel and no videos, and one has 200,000 followers on YouTube, a bunch of really clear, well done videos. People are commenting, they bake this product. It's a very easy decision for me which course I'm going to take. So it's another way to build the authority. It's also practice. Every time I make a video, I'm practicing. I'm making a video. I make a lot of mistakes. Before we got on this call, we were talking about microphones, and I messed up a bunch of times. I recorded videos without a microphone. So by doing the videos, I shot some course stuff, and then a bunch of YouTube, and then a course, and then a bunch of YouTube. But if I look back at my first courses, I'm like kind of cringing at my video quality. But the only way I learned how to make those videos was by continuing to do so on a free platform. The other side of that is YouTube has just brought me all kinds of opportunities, like opportunities that the course wouldn't bring. The course brings great opportunities financially and for my family, but YouTube has got me, I'm going to Vietnam in August because of my social medias. I just got back from France. That was all, based on social media. I've represented Canada in Las Vegas twice at the World Baking Expo. I was supposed to be competing in the fall at the World Mondial du Pain, and that's all brought on by social media. If you're a true expert, people are going to find you without social media, and you can definitely do, there's proof in this panel. You don't need to do YouTube. You don't need socials, but it's a good skill to build, to develop. I'm also just having fun with it, and I like making the videos. So for me, it's just something fun to do. It's not a chore for me. It's not like, oh, I got to shoot another video. I actually like doing it, and it's keeping my skills relevant. So I don't know if I really answered the question, but I think you have to look at what you're doing and who your audience is and where your skill is and where your skill for what you're doing is. Like, if you're a true authority and you've got 100 bakeries around the world, you maybe don't need any social media because people are going to find you, but maybe you're just starting out your journey. 10% more than the average person. You think, hey, I could make a course. You can validate that on YouTube. You can practice on YouTube. You can put the information out there on YouTube. So,
yeah, to your point, I think there's something absolutely to be said about the value of proof, having some kind of evidence that you're an awesome person who does stuff, you're engaged, you're leading in some way. And I think that's the word right here. It's leadership. For me, I've been able to do it with writing. And I think what you said too, like figure out what you're good at and lean into that and go for that. Some people are really great at video, other people are not. And one of the reasons why I started experimenting with kind of like the no social online course and how to make that happen was because I would see in my students so many times over the years the fact that they felt so uncomfortable speaking to camera. Maybe they're not great public speakers. You're definitely a natural, Matthew, like you're great. And there's so many people that aren't. And so as a result, they end up staying behind. They keep themselves back because they think they have to do all this stuff in order to build a product. So I wanted to experiment with that and see, well, is that really the case? How can we still show up and show authority, but maybe do it in a different way that would be better for people who maybe you're introverted, maybe you're shy, or just maybe you're not a great speaker. The video stuff has really kept a lot of people back, and it hurts me because so many people have so many good, smart ideas. They know how to do stuff, but they feel like they're gonna suck online, and so they don't do it.
yeah. I feel like I suck at writing. I'm not very good at running my newsletter. I'm not very good at sending them out. I mean, I just read a book and I said that to my editor, like, I'm not very good at writing. And they're like, what? But it's the same idea. With that said, I feel like for me personally, I get better by making videos. So by forcing myself to do it in the beginning, my first YouTube video is terrible. There's no editing. It's filmed in vertical. I got
Can we get that in? Get that in.
There's no lighting. You know what? Well, I guess one of the good things about the course, though, is when you do a course, you don't really need a high production value. Of course, it's going to make your course better and it's going to, be easier to follow and watch, but you don't need high-end YouTube quality digital course. You're just trying to provide information for people. So you can look at it in both ways, like it can be a good way to practice, to get your name out there. You can also just skip all that and go right into building a course, and then you can level up for the next course or for the next project or whatever, right?
Yeah, baby steps. I've seen a course that was almost entirely in PDF, and I think some topics might lend themselves to that. And as long as you're upfront about what the thing is and what, with a realistic price point, great. Builds. I've done it myself. I've made kits and all sorts of things that, as long as it's useful and it's helping you accomplish something at the end of the day, awesome. Doesn't matter. Pick the right format for that.
Totally. I just took a course that was mostly Loom recordings of decks, and she's doing the voiceover on it. But then we meet weekly to kind of talk live, and I'm perfectly comfortable investing in that type of course, right? So I think there's also when you going back to what Ash said at the beginning, there are many examples of how to build a course. There is not one formula that works, and so you do have the flexibility to figure out what works for you, instead of kind of getting caught up in the imposter syndrome or perfectionism by any means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Loom.
Yes,
Loom
exactly.
champions. Woo!
Yes. I have one final question for you all. I feel like it would be a crime if we left this conversation without talking about AI, just because it is everywhere. I was at VidCon a couple weeks ago, and I think there were maybe 5 panels specifically on AI, but it came up in every single conversation. And specifically, I want to talk about it through the lens of like what you were saying, Ash, when it comes to burnout, right? Of it can be so overwhelming to feel like you have to feed this content wheel. You have to constantly be producing, and we're being sold this narrative that AI is going to change the game and transform the way that we're able to develop content and make it easier and faster and so on. And so I'm curious how you each are thinking about AI in your online business, ways you've implemented it. Yeah, I'm curious how you're leveraging this tool.
Gosh, for me, I have largely ignored it. I think there's something to be said as someone who's an author and who values intellectual property and the unique expression of ideas. I mean, like most ideas are pretty much already out there, but if you can take an idea and you can add to it and you can make it land in a different way for someone, I think there's a lot of value in that AI can't quite touch. I just had like the horrible vision in my mind of everyone making, just being like, hey, AI, make me an online course about sewing. And like everyone has the same course. And I'm like, oh my God. That's not good, because now really the value has gone out the window, because now it's a commodity. I think so much with why people buy online courses from you specifically. This is always a question that comes up, and a concern anyway, of like, hey, but who am I to teach X? There are 50 other experts out there doing the same thing. Like, who am I to really do that? Is this foolish? Is this silly? And the answer is that there are plenty of people who will specifically want to learn it from you. They want your perspective, your opinions, your experience. That's what they're after. So it doesn't matter that you have competitors, because they're after your unique perspective. I think AI kind of messes with that a little bit. I don't know. I need more time to think about it, Olivia.
I know, I threw that one in there. It wasn't on the list. Matt, how about you?
Well, I'm a little bit of the opposite approach here. I've definitely used and embraced it now. The background of that is I'm a full-time professor, and I see it coming in from students. And so I had to figure out, as an instructor, what do we do? And so I was in this situation a few years ago where I decided, when I first started teaching, we had Scantron. You fill out a square. I don't know if maybe I'm old.
Wow,
You
you
fill
just
out a
beat
square.
that.
Yeah, and you hand it in, and they put it through. It tells you the answers. And so when I first started teaching, we had Scantron, and I said, I'm going to move my tests online. This was 5-6 years ago, and everyone's like, you can't do that. Everyone's going to cheat. And I said, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat online or in Scantron. The person who's going to cheat is going to cheat regardless. And so I tried to figure out how to use it so that I could use it as a learning aid and sort of tell students, one example is, you're taking notes, right, in a lecture. You're just typing at everything. Then after you highlight it all, an AI will format it with headers and put the relevant information for you. So I'm not asking, kind of what Ash said, like, I'm not getting AI to create a course. I'm getting it to organize my thoughts. I will brain dump on paper, and then I will ask for a highlight. If I can share my screen, is that okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, if you have the...
I will show you right now how I utilize AI. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is my home dashboard for my life, essentially. This is an app called Notion, and I time block my day, and I also write everything that I'm doing and critical tasks and blah, blah, blah. And so, like, I have my life in here. I actually wrote my digital courses in here, so you can see there's all 3 of my digital courses. And just to use the example, I'm going to go into my YouTube content strategy builder. So I built out a database so I could track all my YouTube videos and what's in them. And we're just going to create a new video here. So it's shout out a bread or something. Ash, what kind of bread do you eat bread? You eat gluten?
Yeah. Woo.
What's your favorite type of bread?
Well, it's definitely French baguette.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to write French. Now, keep in mind, I'm doing this for a YouTube video, but this idea would work for a course as well. So I'm going to French baguette. It's going to be a yeasted dough because I already have a sourdough and we are now in the research stages. So I'm going to open this up and I created a template here. So this template is going to show me all of the pieces of the puzzle that I need. So when I create a YouTube video, very much the same as I would a course, I spend some time planning first and I map out what this is going to look like. So the very first thing here is title ideas. So what is the title? The title is very important for a YouTube video for clicks. It's not as important for a course, but it is still important. You still need a sellable title. So let's say title ideas. I'm going to ask AI and we're going to say, ask AI to write, I'm going to actually, let's be really nice. Hey pal, can you please provide me with 5 ranking title ideas for a yeasted baguette YouTube video? Okay. And so this is how I use it as the initial. Oh, I actually, here we go. How to make the perfect crispy French baguette, mastering the art of yeasted baguette, achieving the classic French flavor in homemade baguette, the secrets of fluffy and light baguette, from dough to delicious crafting. So I probably won't use that exact title, but now I have a good idea of where to start. I look at those titles. What do I like? What I don't I like? I'll then do the same thing in thumbnails and I'll say, hey, AI, let's ask AI, hey, buddy, can you please give me 5 thumbnail ideas for a yeasted baguette YouTube video with a high click through rate? And that's going to provide me 5 ideas for that thumbnail picture. Then I would go on and fill out the rest of it. Now, I already did this for tarte flambe. And so my initial research stage, not my copywriting, because I want to have my own unique voice, not my pictures, all of that is my own unique stuff. But that initial research and planning, I use AI to jumpstart it for me. And so I've already scripted out here the script for sorry, not tarte flambe, it's the other video. I already think it's this one, Gouda and herb sourdough bread. I think I already scripted this, and so you can see here there's a rough draft of what that recipe would look like. And so again, this is just, I'm going to take this share screen off. So this is just my planning, and I use AI to give me ideas. Let's say I wanted to post a video that promotes my online pizza course. I could go on ChatGPT or Notion AI and say, hey, buddy, I'm looking to create a video that promotes my course, has high engagement, and gets people to look at the course. It will provide some ideas. Now, most of the time, those ideas need a lot of work. Those ideas are very generic. Those ideas don't have a voice. Like Ash said, it's just like, you know, I get these assignments from students and I know right away this is created by ChatGPT. Like you can tell before you've even read the first paragraph. And so I'm trying to just use it to enhance my journey and speed up my research, format my notes. I'll brain dump everything I know about yeasted baguettes. Okay, Ash loves yeasted baguettes. It's her favorite bed. She had it for the first time in Paris. She loves jambon beurre, which is ham and butter. And then I'll just highlight it all and ask AI to put it into a better thought, A to Z, boom, boom, boom. And that's kind of where I've approached it. I haven't quite got into the video side, but there is some excellent video app editing on AI that will cut out all the
Oh yeah,
I do manually now. And so from an AI point of view, if I can speed up that editing, ideally you got someone editing for you, but I edit my own videos still because I just don't have the money in the business to really justify paying for YouTube videos. For the course, of course, I'm going to outsource it because I want it to be really good. And so that's kind of how I've used it. I just use it to enhance and validate and more like help me more.
We need a course from you. We need a course from
yeah,
you.
that was a masterclass.
I also use Notion, but nothing like that. I am definitely missing out.
You know what? I'm gonna just show you again, just because I'm
that was wild. I also
use
Notion, but apparently I don't really.
Not
so first of all, this took me a long time to build out. I'll show just because this really helped me back on the subject of courses. Can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
So I started off with a day planner where I wrote what I was going to do. And actually, as I was writing my first course, that's how I got through my first course, is I wrote out what are 3 tasks I need to accomplish? Because anyone out there that's looking to create a course, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a ton of work. It's not easy money. It's not easy build. I mean, I guess it could be if you make a crappy course, but if you really want to make a good course, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of planning. And so I started off with a day planner. And what I did was I turned that first of all. I mean, I even have my local weather up here so I can check the weather. This was what my day planner was: a little schedule map, which is on the right, critical tasks. I usually only write 3 in here, but you can see there's a whole bunch of crap going on here. And then down here, I've also put like my physical exercise, what I've done for the day, blog recipes I'm working on. At the end of the day, I write my wins, my progress towards my goal. So if that goal was creating a course, I would say I met with Ash and discussed how I can be a better creative writer. And I'm going to implement that into my courses. And that was my one-to-one consult today. And that helps me get to my goal. Then I've given myself a score. I also archive the days, and then I build out a monthly and a weekly planner. On top of this, you've got goal tracker, habit tracker, meal planner, note taker. A reading list is anything that I'm reading. Let's say Ash said, hey, this book really helped me on my journey. I will write it down because I don't have time to buy everything, and I'll come back to it. I have a travel planner. So when you go into the travel planner, you're like, hey, where are we going? We're going to Nice, France. All the trip notes are here, my Airbnb, flights, everything, because I want to be able to pull it up from my phone. I've also, you got to keep in mind, I got 2 kids. I'm running around with 2 kids, so I need it in one place or I'm totally lost.
I like can't make another face besides just like
I know.
My first book was written in Notion. So I've got all the recipes, all the testing that's in here. And then the helpful thing, which is more related to which is side hustle. So consults. I've got my Teachable page here that has my actionable items for my Teachable page because I'm always trying to update it. So I make lists, weekly baking schedule. I do my taxes, all my branding, my newsletter.
Yeah, we need a course from you on this.
Yeah.
See, Jen Wenham. Where is this course, Matthew? Hey, Jen.
Yeah, so maybe this is the next course. So if you look here on the bottom, I wrote my first course in Notion. So this is actually the planning stages of my first digital course. So the first thing I did was I wrote out what I felt the modules to be. Module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had a status. It's in draft. The copy's written, the PDF is done. And then I had a team of people who were editing and reading for me. So I would add them here. Then down below, I wrote out all of the individual videos for the module, where they're at with the PDF. And if you actually go to the module itself, I wrote the copy for the course in Notion, first of all. And now this was all done before AI actually.
Oh, no. I think you clicked the wrong button. What a cliffhanger.
Button. Honestly, though, like I am not an adult. Nope. I've just been demoted, like way down. I thought I was hot because I use Asana to organize my life. Nope, that's next level. That's next level. We need his course on this. Yep. It's been decided.
I did this before Notion had AI into it. And I wrote it all, but now if I was writing in that platform, I would use Notion to organize. You know, when you read something, you're a writer. When you read something, if I just blurred out everything, nobody wants to read that. Headers, subheaders, titles, bold, bullets, numbers. And so that's one of the AI tricks that I'll do is just organize. I'm kind of off track here. I was talking about Notion, but AI in Notion and Notion itself is actually a game changer. I've showed this to a few people and they get a little overwhelmed and they're like, oh my God, I even have a home cleaning schedule, but I didn't start with all this. I started with one thing, a day planner. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should have a goal tracker. Oh, maybe I should have this. I mean, I have a professional development thing. So like even after this session, I will add this session in professional development. So at the end of the year, I can look back and be like, here's all of the professional development things I did to level up my skills, to get better, to take this course. I talked to this person. And that just helps me keep on track. And yeah, that's kind of how I run it.
I mean, looking at people's Notion boards is like one of my hobbies. So
it's fun, isn't it?
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed where this went. I also want to plug Teachable, of course, is building with AI to help course creation easier. We have a curriculum generator. So you can type in, I want to make a course about French baguettes, and it'll actually in the product break out for you. Module 1 is this, module 2 is this, module 3 is this. So there's that, but we also, which I love, just rolled out a quiz generator. So it'll take all of the, it'll take all the content in your course and then help you build quizzes based on the content that you put in there. So we're playing around with it to make it easier. So yeah.
You know what I saw? I sorry to interrupt. It just makes me think. I saw this video when I first started teaching, or it was a picture. And the old dean that was the dean of the school I teach at, he showed this picture in front of a whole bunch of people. And it was a horse running down a railroad track and a train's coming. And it's kind of like you can adapt and learn how to use AI, or you can kind of be hands off and be like, well, I don't know. It's too tech for me. I don't know how to use this. You're going to get run over by that train. And for me, the thing is like being an early adapter of some of these technologies and maybe not mastering it, of course, but just understanding how it works. So if I understand how to use AI a bit, and then I'm on Notion, and then I'm on Teachable, and I can generate that course, by me understanding how to use it, I know how to prompt it. And that's the big part of it, is how to ask the question to get the response you want. But the more I use it, the more I play around with it, the better I get. And I think it's one of those things that whether you like it or not, it's not going to change. It's here to stay. It's kind of, I stopped posting pictures on social media, and I worked with an agency, and she was like, what are you doing? It's a picture app. And I was like, I don't think so. I think it's a video app. And she's like, well, no, it's an Instagram. It's a picture. And we kind of went back and forth. And I was like, look, I'm not posting pictures anymore. And I was an early adapter of video because a lot of people weren't posting video when I was. And now look, nobody's posting pictures anymore. I think AI is the same. I think understanding it, learning how to use it to your advantage, to help you, to speed up, not to do the work for you necessarily, not to write for you, not to, you could probably make a course on French baguettes with AI and never be in a video and never have a face, and you could AI generate a whole video. That kind of sucks. And could you do it? Yeah, but like there's no personal touch to it. There's no reason to follow the journey. There's no reason to take another course with you. And so I just think that it's something to look at, to understand, to learn. I mean, I got 2 kids. They're going to be, they're in school. They're going to be using computers soon. I need to know so I can help them and make sure they use it to their advantage too, right?
I tell you what, I sometimes work with publishers and authors when we've got a manuscript and they call me because they're like, yo, this reads like cardboard. And usually it's an academic or someone who just isn't a natural born writer, but the content needs to be engaging. So this is kind of like my side hustle these days, where I'm specifically book doctoring a manuscript to make it more readable, more interesting, and more fun to read. And I got to say, I'm just like, it's fascinating because I'm sure AI could be used so many ways to make different outlines and do different things. And I think if you're using it that way, that's awesome. But I'm seeing the future already, and I don't know. I'm going to be editing a lot more books in the future to make them actually readable.
We love it. We love it. Okay. I know we are over time, but I really quickly want to give each of you the opportunity to share with the audience kind of what you have going on right now, how they can get plugged into what you're working on, how can they support you. Ash, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I sent you the link. I don't know if you have it there, but we've got a really fun freebie right now. Special kind of limited time thing I'm doing called Selfish 101. Since I am doing something called Selfish School, Selfish 101 is kind of this really fun intro course, a mini course that I put together to give you a roadmap. If you are someone who wants to create a digital course or intellectual property or digital product, and you want to find a way to put the sales on autopilot, build it into a system, use technology to do that actually, and use minimal social media to do so. So that's there for you. It's at selfishforever.com/freebie.
Beautiful. I just dropped that in the chat for everyone. And Matt, how about you? Other than your pending Notion masterclass, what is going on and how can we support you?
So I wrote a book, as I was saying, and I really struggled to keep up with everything, and I had all these things I wanted to do, and a lot of it just never happened, and I realized I can't do this and this and this and this. And so over the past 2 weeks, I'm on summer holiday right now, I've just been looking at building out. I need to talk to Ash after. I'm just looking at building out my side of it. And so right now I have my sort of lead magnet freebie are Excel spreadsheets to scale and customize your baking. So it's a spreadsheet you can enter in 1 loaf, 1 baguette, 10 baguette, 100 baguette, and you can change it. And it's a really great way to track and enhance your baking. And I'm just trying to revamp my newsletter as well, because what I'm trying to avoid is sending a newsletter that says, new course, buy my product, digital course, buy it, in-person class, buy it, and having a more value add. Here's a recipe. Here's what I'm baking this week. Here's what I am reading, or whatever that looks like. And so I'm kind of in this, like, I don't want to say rebranding, but I'm in this, like, I don't know, you kind of journey, you look where you're at and you journey a bit more. And I'm kind of in this, like, trying to figure out what my next step would be. So the best way to follow along with that would to be on any of the socials, Instagram, YouTube, or newsletter would ultimately be where that information will go first. So any courses or any in-person will always go to my newsletter. And I always try to plug new recipes there first before they hit any kind of other platforms. And I don't even know if I actually sent you a link to that, but I can plug you one right now. I mean, you can sign up on my website, which is just MatthewJamesDuffy.com.
Yeah, feel free to drop that in the chat, and I'll just plug for anybody curious about checking out Teachable. We have a free plan that you can sign up on and start selling. So I would say get into the product, play around with it, test out the AI curriculum generator, and follow along with us on social. We'd love to bring you along this journey. We love giving our creators the floor to really dig into what they're working on, what they're focused on. So Ash and Matt, really appreciate the value you shared here, the time you shared with us, and just the candidness that you brought to the conversation. We are forever grateful for you and want to make sure that you get back to the rest of your day. For everybody who tuned in, thanks for tuning in and keeping the chat pop in the entire time. We will see you next time.
Woo! Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.